Welcome to the news at 10, our top stories. Video shows Russia drones chasing a man at a market in Ukraine. Russian air war has taken major turf. Or updates as BBC reported in Kyiv also tonight. Infantino summons senior MFS staff for emergency talks as he's under immense of pressure as the fifth president. Also on the program tonight, St. Bernard emergency prison overcrowding for policy triggers after Burnham's change to early release schemes. Iran reports progress on the state of Hormuz. We'll have the details. The funeral held for almost 112 victims buried under rubble of Gaza for nearly 3 years. Welcome. We'll be joining Anna. We're looking at Anna on the program tonight, and the program is indeed will be talking more about how people can get support and help any vulnerable ones who died in funeral homes up and down Lincolnshire, and also we'll be having a look at is it illegal to drive e-bikes, motorbikes on pavements across Lincolnshire. We're joining Isabel Watson for London News. Also on the program tonight, or on the program tonight, we'll be talking about the early prison scheme and what that means for staff and for people that get arrested after the scheme was brought forward by the Prime Minister. Also more about the drought issues up and down the country. Welcome to the BBC News at 10, our top headline. Ukrainian officials say the incident during which a drone hunted a street vendor around the fan before exploding after the day for cover amounts to a war crime. It also comes after video shows a Russian drone chasing a man at a market in Ukraine. It also comes after Ukraine-Russian air war has taken major turfs. A reporter, Susanna Briggs, has this latest story tonight.
Ukraine has taken some major turns recently, which is affecting the rest of the war. One is that Ukraine has done extremely well in developing more drone attacks and more drones to attack Russia, more than twice as much since March as the Russians have been able to attack the Ukrainians. And in the last 24 hours, the Ukrainians have attacked 18 different regions, oblasts within Russia. That's more or less all of Russia west of the Urals. More than that, data from forensics at Sky have been able to locate all of the Wildberries warehouses that have been attacked in recent weeks. Now, these warehouses are huge warehouses. Wildberries is the Amazon of Russia, online retailing. And these warehouses contain an enormous amount of stock from all the small and medium enterprises, the small-scale suppliers that keep their stock in these warehouses for delivery. And those warehouses have been attacked all the way through Russia, even in Crimea, even in Novorossiysk, so that Wildberries itself, the company, is now talking about establishing in Kazakhstan new warehouses in 2027, 2028, which tells me that Wildberries think that this war won't be over anytime soon. That's a major plus for the Ukrainians. Now, the Ukrainians say this is justified because Wildberries are a component supplier to lots of military systems, which indeed they are. But you could say that about many retailers because most military systems these days are full of civilian components one way or another. Nevertheless, that's what the Ukrainians argue is their justification for hitting Russia really hard in this particular way. In particular, a drone from Ukraine fell onto a holiday resort at Okipo-Ozipovka, which is a very popular beach resort in Black Sea part of Russia. And a lot of families go there for the summer. This drone was fired at from the ground. We can clearly hear machine gun fire as the drone passes over, but this is the moment when the drone descends onto the beach and causes a lot of fatalities and injuries. It's quite hard for the Ukrainians to get over this one. They are morally responsible for sending the drone more than anyone who tried to shoot it down is morally responsible. If you send a drone to a different target, undoubtedly this was aimed at something else further on. Nevertheless, it got shot down, it's got to land somewhere, lands on the beach. That is Ukraine's responsibility, and they will find that politically quite difficult. Nevertheless, the Russians are responding to these attacks in the way you would expect. There were very heavy Russian attacks last night, but in particular in Sumy, in Dnipro, in Mykolaiv, in Belgorod, Dnistrovsky, a lot of casualties were reported. The Russians are doing what you would always expect them to do. But there's another way in which the drone war is actually affecting the war at sea between the two sides. The Ukrainians have been extremely successful in the last few weeks at attacking Russian shipping in the Sea of Azov. And the Ukrainians say that they've attacked more than 100 Russian ships in the Sea of Azov. That's not confirmed, but nevertheless, the Russians have certainly closed the Kerch Strait from about the 15th of July because they obviously don't think it's safe to get in and out of the Sea of Azov. So the Ukrainians have had an enormous victory in closing off that sea and closing off all of the grain and the oil which the Russians were trying to export from those ports along that sea coast.
Next.
You heard that right. Today,
Next, the FIFA and UEFA has been confirmed. FIFA staff have been called into a crisis meeting with Gianni Infantino, as well as explaining the blackmail FIFA from Jordan for the World Cup money to return for support for Infantino. But as we know from yesterday, first couple of days, for FIFA President Infantino is under a lot of pressure to resign as the president for FIFA. When I say he's under pressure, he's under a lot of pressure from his own team of chief experts and team leaders. Yes, pressure mounts on Gianni Infantino. The FIFA chief has called an emergency meeting in Moscow tomorrow. Infantino summoned senior FA staff for an emergency talks. Georgian FA accuses of FIFA of blackmailing. The FIFA chief calls for the World Cup plans side. Arsenal winner U2 was absolutely necessary. So I'm just saying, senior FIFA staff have been summoned to an emergency talks in Moscow, the capital. The FIFA president was last seen in the North Africa country last Thursday to mark Foreign Day when Moscow's king was officially in for over 27 years. Moscow is co-hosting the next World Cup in 2030 alongside Spain and Portugal. Since it's unclear what the meeting exactly will be about, but comes as you want to hear from Infantino after he withdraws his attempts to sell shares in the World Cup. This report now from our sports correspondent Jane Dougal has his 3-minute report.
Yet another day of developments in the story that continues to make headlines right across the world. The future of the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino. Well, after a bruising day for the man in charge of the World Game, there's breaking news tonight that begs the question, is his game over. As you can see, our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solokol, is here. So, developments tonight, what are they?
Yeah, senior FIFA staff have been asked to attend a crisis meeting with Gianni Infantino in the Moroccan capital, Rabat, tomorrow. Now, obviously, this is going to be a very, very tense meeting. We don't know how it's going to end up. We do know that Gianni Infantino has been in Morocco. You are seeing him there on Friday. He was there for some important Moroccan national celebrations. But he has asked his senior staff from FIFA to attend this meeting with him tomorrow. Now, interesting, what happens? What is his stance going to be at this meeting? Is he going to throw in the towel and say, look, I can read the room, I can feel which way the wind is blowing, I'm losing support all over the world, I'm losing support inside FIFA as well, I'm going to do the honourable thing and resign? Or is he going to stay, I fight on, I'm the FIFA president, if you want me to leave, you're going to have to take me down? And I still believe that I have significant support around the world, especially in South America, Africa and Asia.
Does he strike you as a man who walks away?
Listen up. This is the last time you will ever waste money on reading glasses, and the moment you say goodbye to those rip-off high street optician bills forever. Stop waiting endlessly for an NHS eye test appointment just to spend hundreds of pounds on glasses. Imagine this. Within just 0.01 seconds of putting on these high-tech glasses, powered by breakthrough German smart auto-zoom molecular technology, they automatically and instantly adjust to your perfect visual parameters. Whether you have -100 myopia, +1000 presbyopia, or even severe astigmatism, they magically adapt like a living thing to give you crystal clear vision in an instant. These are not your cheap, ordinary magnifying glasses on the market. They don't just hold the UKCA medical grade safety standard, they are officially certified by the ultimate authority, the Royal College of Ophthalmologists. Long-term clinical trials at University College London Medical School have proven that they completely free you from the hassle of constantly swapping glasses to see far and near. Whether you're looking down at the small print on your phone or looking up at the TV, the transition is completely seamless, and they genuinely relieve eye strain while preventing your vision from deteriorating any further. What's even more mind-blowing is their all-weather photochromic technology. Step into the sunlight, and within 3 seconds, they instantly transform into premium high-definition sunglasses, completely blocking out 99% of harmful blue light and UV rays. The entire frame is crafted from aerospace-grade titanium, weighing an unbelievable 8 grams. They feel practically weightless on your face, perfectly fitting all face shapes, without leaving a single mark on the bridge of your nose, even after a full day's wear. To completely end your vision anxiety, the brand is making a massive, bold promise, a 90-day full money-back guarantee, plus a 10-year official warranty. If you don't experience a massive leap in your vision quality, you get a full refund instantly. Today, to top the UK online sales charts, the brand is dropping an incredibly rare 50% off flash sale. Right now, for the price of a coffee, you can get a pair. And your second pair is an unbelievable £6, with completely free delivery straight to your door anywhere in the UK. Stock could sell out at any second, so click the link below this video right now to grab this deal. Bring home this Royal Certified Ultimate Visual Tech at a ridiculously affordable price, and say goodbye to the nightmare of constantly changing glasses forever.
No outdoor unit, no expensive installation costs. You can easily take this brand new portable air conditioner for heating and cooling with you anywhere. It cools the room down to ice cold in just 5 minutes. Its cooling effect covers up to 200 square meters. Just plug it in and enjoy immediately. Absolutely zero installation costs. No outdoor unit, just plug it in and you're good to go. You'll feel the ice-cold relief in just 5 minutes. It is already completely sold out in stores. But online, you can get it right now for half price. Only the last 20 units left in stock. The most incredible thing is its EU Energy Efficiency Class A rating. If you let it run all night for a full 12 hours, it uses just a single kilowatt hour of electricity in total. It features a built-in air circulation and purification function. The powerful airflow covers large rooms in a flash. And the best part, no more headaches even after prolonged use. At a whisper quiet 30 decibels, it's quieter than your breathing and guarantees you a deep sleep all...
Here is a man who walks away.
No, not under normal circumstances. When you are the FIFA president, you are a very powerful person, and the way Gianni Infantino sees the role, he sees himself as a statesman. He sees himself as a ruler of a country. He feels he's the equal of presidents. He flies around in a private jet. He has motorcades wherever he goes. So I think he would find it very, very difficult to give that up. But having said all that, to get to the top of FIFA, you need to be a politician. And if you're a politician, surely you have some instincts. You can sense that you are losing support. You can sense that your position is untenable. You sense that you have to do the right thing and resign. Of course, it's going to be in terrible circumstances, and he's going to resign in disgrace if he does decide to resign. This is not the way he would have liked to go out, but he's made a cataclysmic error of judgment, and it was not just one quick decision that he got wrong. What we know is that he was plotting with some people close to him for quite a long time to sell off a stake in the World Cup to private investors.
It's his biggest problem that it's not the UEFAs of this world who are criticising, but the criticism is coming from within.
Exactly. This is something that we've been talking about for the last few days. You've got federations from all over the world, confederations turning against you. That is one thing you have to deal with. But also you have to deal with problems inside your own organisation. We've seen over the last couple of days the chief operating officer of FIFA release a scathing statement and basically saying that, maybe I'll lose my job over this, but so be it. At least I'll be able to sleep tonight. We've had one of Gianni Infantino's senior advisors, somebody who was on the White House task force, resigning and saying, I want nothing to do with this scheme. And then today, we have had Arsene Wenger, one of the most well-known people at FIFA, coming out and through FIFA releasing a statement saying, this scheme had nothing to do with me. The first I heard of it was when I read about it in media reports last week. So Arsene Wenger making it clear that he's not a politician. His job at FIFA is basically to help develop football all over the world. He wants nothing to do with this scheme either. But then we had an email that was sent out by the Secretary General of FIFA, Matthias Grafström. Now, he's effectively the chief executive of FIFA, who runs the organisation on a day-to-day basis. And he's sent an email to FIFA staff saying, first of all, thank you very much for all the hard work you did at the World Cup. It's just a shame that all the hard work you have done, yet again, is being overshadowed by a massive controversy which has nothing to do with you. And again, Gianni Infantino, Secretary General at FIFA, trying to put distance between himself and Gianni Infantino, which is why I think it's all well and good.
Right, next tonight. The emergency prison overcrowd policy triggers after added burden of implementing changes to early release scheme. An emergency overcrowded measure has today been triggered in the prison service after revisions to the early release policy. Burnham confirmed the release scheme to go ahead, but rapid and other sexual offences to be excluded. The move has been critical by PC Harper Widow. Also, Burnham says he wanted to go further with charges. And Burnham pissed him on his X account. Britain prison crisis has to root a failure to add suffocating new places between 2010 and 2024. Just 500 places were added and 23 prisons were closed. As a result, the system is now dangerously close to capitalizing, and we are running the risk of new offences and not being. So again, he said British prisons crisis has its roots in a failure to add suffocating now new places between 2010 and 2024.
Who he runs a refugee charity with.
They're looking into whether he had met her previously through his involvement in boxing or an NGO working with refugees, as she also worked.
What has happened here in Athens, not least how Lisa had died here.
Ben, thank you. Ben Phillip reporting there. Plans by the government to deal with prison overcrowding through an early release scheme were revised last night to exclude those convicted of rape, serious child sex offences and grooming in England and Wales. But victims' families are concerned that other serious offenders could be released early, and prison governors fear that they will have to deal with hundreds more prisoners they weren't expecting at a time when prisons are almost full. Here's Seema Katecha.
Almost exactly 2 years ago, HMP Pentonville in London. Crowded and chaotic, with some of the country's most dangerous criminals.
So they've just jumped in the netting. Prison officers are running up the stairs to try and get them down.
Since then, tens of thousands of prisoners in England and Wales have been released early to create more room. Now ministers are saying if thousands more aren't let out sooner, jails could be at full capacity by the autumn. So, from October, some offenders will leave jail after serving a third of their term behind bars. More serious offenders will leave at the halfway point. But now the government says rapists, serious child sex and grooming offenders won't be part of that group. Those serving life sentences had already been excluded from the scheme.
We would have liked to have gone further, but we couldn't, because if we do that, we would run out of prison places very quickly, and then no victims would be getting justice.
But the families of some victims say the changes don't go far enough, with violent offenders, including domestic abusers, set to be let out sooner. PC Andrew Harper was killed in 2019 when he was dragged by a car down a country road. His mother has called the plans, which could reduce the sentences of two of the men responsible for her son's death, insulting.
We're bitterly disappointed. I don't feel like we should be in this position. It's not somewhere we would expect to be, and we would, really feel like we should have more support than this. And Andrew deserves better than this, and so do we.
The latest exclusions mean 1,000 fewer inmates will be let out than originally planned. Some prison staff say they were depending on the original scheme.
We had anticipated that this would create a headroom in the system. This would create 6,000 places by releasing people early. That will not now be 6,000. That will be significantly less than that. and that means that the risk of that capacity running out is much greater.
Gentleman arrested.
The opposition says the government's too slow at sorting the problem.
They're only doing this now because of the pressure which I and others, Conservatives and others, have been putting on them, and we will continue to do so. We do not want to see the early release of killers. I'm glad that the government wants to stop the release of rapists, but they need to get on with it, not just talk about it.
There are currently just over 2,000 spaces available across the prison estate. 2 years ago, it was just 100 or so. The fear is the criminal justice system could come to a halt if more space isn't urgently created. But for many victims of serious crime, it feels like justice is being eroded. Seema Katecha, BBC News.
Well, our home and legal correspondent Dominic Casciani is here with me. And Dominic, the government seems to have chosen a middle way and drawn criticism from both sides.
Yeah, one of many bad choices. Let me show you a graph, which is basically an internal prophecy of prison doom for the Ministry of Justice. What it shows is that even though they're planning to build 14,000 additional cells, by the time, roughly around the time of the next general election or shortly after, all those cells would be full. They'd run out of prison cells again. We'd have 100,000 people in prison, which means that an outgoing or incoming government around 2029 would have to face the same dilemma as Keir Starmer and Andy Burnham about emergency releases. And that's what this plan is about. It's a long-term bet in trying to stop the emergency release of prisoners. Now, that involves management of people in the community, really careful management of the community. There's a big if around that, about whether or not the probation service are ready to do that. People are talking about alternatives. Why not release more women from prison cells? Problem with that, if you release all 500 or so women who are on a very short sentence at the moment, well, the male prison population went up by just 500 this summer. So there's only so much you can do with these other options, which is why the community management plan is the one the government has gone for. It hopes it can get it right, and it hopes over the long term, by the next election, this becomes more manageable. But that's a really, really big if.
Dominic, thank you. Dominic Casciani there. 5 people have been killed in a drone strike on a warehouse south of Moscow. It's the latest strike by Ukraine on Russian infrastructure. It brings to 183 the number of civilians killed in the war in Russia this year, nearly 2.5 times as many as in the same period last year. But Ukraine is continuing to be hit by Russian drones too. 3 people, including 2 children, were killed in the city of Sumy. 293 civilians have been killed in Ukraine. Flights are expected to take off from the second runway in 2030. Pass rates have gone up in Scotland among the 150,000 who've received their results today. But the attainment gap between students from the richest and poorest backgrounds, while narrowing slightly, hasn't closed. Here's Katie Hunter.
I'm scared. One by one, their higher results landed.
No way. You did good? That's good.
These pupils at All Saints Secondary School in Glasgow had reason to celebrate.
Oh my gosh, well done.
They're all hoping to go to university or college.
I'm speechless. I don't even know. I worked so hard, and it's just, it feels so good that I've achieved more than I ever thought I could. So I'm just so happy, and I'm so pleased.
I done 3 hires. I got 2 C's and a B.
And how are you feeling about that?
I'm buzzing.
I've worked so hard, day and night, doing flashcards, memorizing. You do not know. You do not have idea how hard I've worked for this, and I'm so proud of myself.
But the head teacher here knows not everyone gets the results they hoped for.
We're looking to celebrate the top grades, the conditional offers from uni, the unconditionals. It's important to also celebrate the 1 hires, the national qualifications and the vocational awards. And for those pupils who haven't done it as well as they maybe hoped or thought they would, then it's important to take advantage of the various supports.
The pass rate for National 5s, sat mainly by 15 and 16-year-olds, was 79.2%, up by 0.8 percentage points, while the higher pass rate, needed by many to get into university, was 76.7%, also up. The advanced higher pass rate increased too, although it is still lower than pre-pandemic.
But what about the attainment gap? More than 10 years ago, the Scottish Government said that closing the gap in grades between Scotland's most deprived and least deprived pupils was a priority.
The Scottish Government's opponents have criticised Minister's record on this measure. At higher, the gap has narrowed, but not closed. It's still 15.9 percentage points.
In the intervening period of that decade, we have had probably the most disruptive educational as well as societal event that any of us will have lived through in the COVID-19 pandemic, and the whole education community would accept that that has had an impact and may have been a setback. But last year's exam results demonstrated a closing of the attainment gap. This year's exam results build on that. I believe we're on a good trajectory.
Oh, yeah. Behind the national picture are individual stories of achievement, but also an acknowledgement that not everyone is celebrating their results, like these pupils. Katie Hunter, BBC News, Glasgow.
6 young white-tailed eagles have been released into the wild at a national park in Exmoor, the first for 200 years. The project to reintroduce the species in England started in 2019 on the Isle of Wight. Criticism from both sides.
Even though prison cells about emergency relief, community really prison cells. Problem with that, if you release, which is wider community, that's a really, really big if.
Dominic, thank you. Dominic Casciani there. 5 people have been killed in a drone strike on a warehouse south of Moscow. It's the latest strike by Ukraine on Russian infrastructure. It brings to 183 the number of civilians killed in the war in Russia this year, nearly 2.5 times as many as in the same period last year. But Ukraine is continuing to be hit by Russian drones too. 3 people, including 2 children, were killed in the city of Sumy. 293 civilians have been killed in Ukraine since the start of the year. Steve Rosenberg reports now from Moscow.
In Moscow, they woke to news there'd been more Ukrainian drone strikes on Russia. 3 warehouses hit and fatalities. But how are these being reported to the Russian public? Some photos released, but only officially sanctioned ones. And on Russian TV, reporting restrictions mean no video from the scene, just an official statement about 5 people dead. The thinking, perhaps, less information, less panic. But Russians are feeling the consequences. First, of drone attacks on Wildberries warehouses. Russia's version of Amazon is used by tens of millions of people here. And this summer, Ukrainian strikes on Russian oil refineries sparked a fuel shortage. All of this has brought the war much closer to home.
A year or so ago, when I spoke to Russians, many people told me that, to them, the war in Ukraine was something very distant. It didn't affect their lives. That's changed. Now many people are feeling the impact, but they're also feeling powerless to do anything about it.
People are nervous about what comes next. This whole thing has snowballed massively, Yevgenia says. Now there is a huge crisis. People and businesses are suffering. Kirill works for a business that sells its goods on Wildberries. Some of his company's stock.
Other top stories tonight. SpaceX rocket is about to crash into the moon at 5,400 miles per hour. Iran and USA report progress on the Strait of Hormuz as the deal comes closer. The 2 nations set for crisis talk. What we know. Funeral held for 112 victims buried under rubble of Gaza flats for nearly 3 years. A 35-year-old man arrested on suspicion of murder after a shooting. Police were named the victim, a 36-year-old Jimmy Ward, and said a total of 5 people have been arrested over the death at a site in Wiltshire on Sunday. The family of a girl who died after an Australian estate incident after taken to hospital for told who later died in hospital was taken for treatment along with 3 members of her family and for the rest suspect a 35-year-old man remains in police custody. The man arrested over illegal waste dump. A toddler rescued from a stolen vehicle after a motor caused 911, and a boat carrying more than 170 migrants catches fire. Grab my iPad. About to the crisis with prison. Our political editor, Ian Watson, has his 3-minute report.
You can back me on. Should be alright for now, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Can you turn my gym down, please?
It gets really hot this time.
No kidding.
You can only eat biscuits. Don't waste them.
Any wasted one. I give one. Thanks. The plastic bugs in the living room.
Prisons can't take many more prisoners. Ready yet at the overcrowding crisis.
We'll speak to a political editor, Nicole Lee, in just a second.
On TV Evening News with Mary Nightingale. Good evening. The mother of Police Constable Andrew Harper spoke movingly to ITV News today about her bitter disappointment that her son's killers can now be released from prison early. The Justice Secretary Alex Norris has apologised to PC Harper's family that his killers can go free under the government's early release programme. The plan does not include the most serious offences like murder, rape and child sex crimes. But PC Harper's killers were convicted of manslaughter, which does not disqualify them. They will be among 5,000 prisoners released early from October onwards to try to help relieve pressure on Britain's overcrowded jails. Debbie Adlam said her son, who was killed in the line of duty, would have been devastated to know that this is what his sacrifice had led to. Now, there are testimonies in this report by our political correspondent Carl Dinnan that you may well find distressing.
Prisons.
Prisons can't take many more prisoners. Temporary early release schemes have brought only temporary relief, and now, after a review, the government is going ahead with a more permanent scheme. Some serious offenders will get out earlier. The family of PC Andrew Harper have been told that 2 of his killers will, after all, be eligible.
I'm left just bitterly disappointed. I knew it was going to be possible that we were in this situation, but I had hoped for better, bearing in mind that we're looking at 2 Category A prisoners.
The Justice Secretary, Alex Norris, visited the site of Welland Oaks Prison in Leicestershire today. The government has taken around 1,000 prisoners out of the early release scheme.
Those who've been in prison for rape, for child sexual offences, they won't be in scope. We'd like to have gone further than that, but that's an important step forward.
Why did you not go further? Why are people who, for example, have been responsible for killing people going to be getting out early?
So, important to recognise that already people who are on life sentences, people who've been convicted of murder, terror offences, they're outside of this. I'm pleased we've been able to add rapists and child sex offenders there as well. We would have liked to have gone further, but we couldn't, because if we do that, we would run out of prison places very quickly.
The new scheme means that inmates who would have served half their sentence can get out after a third. Those who would have served 2/3 can get out after half. The new exclusions, though, mean that instead of 6,000 prisoners being released early from the autumn, now 5,000 will be. Katie was overwhelmed to learn that her attacker would not now be eligible for early release.
I can rest easy and know that he's going to stay in prison for the term that was promised ultimately, but it makes me angry for other people. It makes me really worried for other people, and I could get as upset about that as I could for myself.
The government says the largest prison building programme since Victorian times is now underway. HMP Welland Oaks will be a high-security Category B training prison. It'll house up to 1,700 inmates. That'll certainly help with the overcrowding situation, but it won't be ready until 2029. In the meantime, the government has promised that all those who are released early will be subject to the strictest of controls. Carl Dinnan, News at 10, Leicestershire.
Well, the early release scheme has been about trying to free up space in prisons. So just how acute is the capacity crisis in England and Wales? As of yesterday, over 86,000 people were in prison, with a spare capacity here of almost 2,400. It means that prisons are more than 97% full, as over the decades the number of inmates has grown. In fact, since 1900 here, the prison population has quadrupled in size, but saw particular growth in the 90s and early 2000s. It passed 50,000 here in 1995, then it crossed the 80,000 threshold in 2007, and the prison population in England and Wales is forecast to reach over 93,000 by the end of 2030. So what options are there to increase capacity? Well, one is, of course, to build more prisons. Labour has pledged to do that and create 14,000 more places by 2031. But this could be a challenge. Between 2010 and 2024, prison capacity increased by a net figure of 482 under the Conservatives. The government could also look at people who have been imprisoned for public protection, or IPP. That means they're still in prison not for what they've done, but for the risk they could pose to the public. Last year there were over 8,000 prisoners in that category. Another option is to change the sentences given to people. A review was last year carried out by the former Tory minister here, David Gauke, who recommended that prison sentences under 12 months be suspended, replaced with community sentences instead. That could free up over 7,000 prison places. But when you look at other countries, there is an argument that we rely too heavily on prisons here. Across the EU, on average, there are 113 prisoners for every 100,000 people. In France, it's 117, Spain a bit higher, 122. But look at the UK here, way above them all at a rate of 170, with that figure only set to rise, putting the overcrowding crisis into some international context here.
Well, let's speak to Carl, who's back in Westminster now. And Carl, nobody, of course, wants to see criminals released early. Never a good look for a government. Labour blame the Conservatives, but 2 years in, do you think they've managed to grip this crisis?
Yeah, Labour do blame the Conservatives, but the prison crisis is such a massive mess that frankly it's visible from space. So even the Conservatives blame the Conservatives. They spent years increasing the lengths of sentences and didn't build the necessary prison places, although Kemi Badenoch says in mitigation their plans were interrupted by COVID. Then along came Labour and took up the prison building plans that the Tory government have belatedly introduced. They've sped them up a bit, so they are going ahead with that side of the equation, and now they've started dealing with the other side, which is to reduce some of the sentences, in some cases, that the Conservatives put up. So those prisoners who will now be let out after half their sentence instead of 2/3, that was an increase the Tories actually made 5 or 6 years ago. So we're just going back to that situation. That would seem to address the problem in the longer term, but in the immediate term, the coming weeks and months, there is still a crisis. I mean, the prison estate is at 97% capacity. There's very little room for manoeuvre there. And in carrying out the review, the government has pushed back the point at which this early release scheme will start from September to October. So in the very short term, they're not out of the woods.
There's multiple reasons.
Come on, sweetheart. Go on, Charlie, you've not.
You're not bad.
Don't call him that. Your father is a dickhead.
He's an
Come on,
innocent.
Come on, sweetheart.
Oh,
Don't
honey.
let anyone hear me say that. They'll bombard you.
I bet it will.
Come on.
I haven't got the patience.
Not me either.
God,
I've got to do these things.
I haven't.
What kind of help? He's already done your tablet, he sent me in here, and then I've got to do this.
It's an absolute kick to the
My son is a nose, and we don't let it go now. If your son really was a nose, he won't be shouting out. Come on.
Honey, I haven't got the patience, babes.
Come on.
And for him to get a 5-year sentence to 33% means he's only serving 16 months of a 5-year sentence. It doesn't make me feel safe.
Is it okay if I read out some of the things he was convicted of doing to you?
Yes, that's fine.
Controlling and coercive behaviour, strangulation, suffocation, sharing intimate photos, assault, harassment and criminal damage.
Yeah.
These are not deemed worthy of exclusion by the government today, albeit in a difficult position. But what do you make of that?
Everything that happened to me was a very serious offence on me and my children, especially my newborn daughter at the time. The suffering that we've been through, we've had to move house, we've had to change schools, I've had to uproot my family, and change our whole lives just to try and keep us safe, for him to just be let out.
We have the Justice Minister on Channel 4 News this evening. What do you want to say to her about how you're feeling just now?
I want to ask if we was even considered in this review, domestic violence survivors, the trauma we've had to face already, what we've had to do to keep ourselves safe. What are you going to do to keep us safe?
The Prime Minister has said he wanted to go further, he wanted to do more, he's pushed this as far as possible. Do you have any sympathy for his position?
No. When the review first took place and I was made aware of the review happening, I got some hope and I thought, maybe he is going to take some responsibility and actually do something about it. But then obviously when I got that phone call yesterday from the victim liaison officer, I just thought, where was the process thinking there, and where was the sympathy for us and for what we've had to go through?
So you've already been made aware, are you, that your perpetrator in your case could be eligible for early release now?
Yeah. The victim liaison officer told me he will be eligible for release as of October this year.
And when you hear people talk about trying to find some sort of way through this, because if people are committing offences now, there might not be prison places for them unless they do something. What do you think of the situation that we're in?
So it's just giving them an opportunity to re-offend. They're going to re-offend. They're going to do it all over again.
There have been apologies from the government to some of the other families who have been affected by this decision today. Is that something that you would like directly from the government?
Maybe, but it wouldn't really make much of a difference because he's still not acting on that. Like putting a licence in place doesn't mean it's going to stop, because that's what keeps getting said, well, he'll be on a licence and he'll have this in place and he'll have that in place, but he already broke bail when he was first arrested, so he's a history of not abiding by the rules, and not following what he's told to do, basically.
Have you thought about how you'll feel when you know he's been released early? When you know for sure that he's out?
Well, I spent when I got the phone call yesterday, I spent most of the night crying, just wondering, and getting flashbacks and the nightmares, that all come back just from it. Thank you.
Well, before we came on air, I spoke to Alex Davis-Jones, the Minister for Victims and Tackling Violence Against Women and Girls. I asked her for her response to what Molly Cousins had to say.
My heart goes out to Molly and every victim who will be concerned by the potential early release of the perpetrators. But we have to take action here, and we are doing everything we can to keep not just Molly and other domestic abuse victims safe, but the entire country safe, by having to take those difficult decisions.
Okay, but in her particular case, her perpetrator was convicted of, and I quote, strangulation, suffocation, sharing intimate photos, assault, harassment, criminal damage. She is convinced he will come after her again. What protection will she get?
Look, nobody wants to be in this position where offenders are potentially having to come out of prison early. It's why we've taken the necessary decisions that we have done today regarding certain crimes like rape and child sexual abuse being exempt. We will do everything we can to ensure that we keep Molly safe, and we work with her and other victims to put these measures in place.
But how will you do that?
So we're investing in probation, we're investing in our GPS tagging systems, we're bringing in new measures to such as curtailing people's liberty by banning perpetrators from football matches, even if they weren't convicted of a football-related offence. We're introducing something called an exclusion zone, which is brand new. These have never been done before. So instead of the victim always looking over their shoulder, wondering, is my perpetrator around the corner, whenever they're released, then these exclusion zones will put that liberty restriction on the perpetrator directly. They will have their freedom limited.
Okay, you're going to have to rely more than ever on the probation service as tens of thousands of prisoners are released. The Probation Service Union has issued a statement today. They are saying more people, mainly women, will be killed or harmed as a result of these early releases.
If we take no action now, Matt, then that would mean that our prison system would fail to operate. Our entire criminal justice system would collapse. We wouldn't be able to lock anyone up, arrest anyone, bring anyone to court, because there wouldn't be any prison places. That would leave everyone at risk. We will never run away from our problems. We are running towards them, and we are taking the action necessary that we have to do.
Well, should you be running towards more funding for the probation service, filling those vacancies, without which you cannot do the job that is about to land on your doorstep with thousands of people released?
Yeah, and that is what we're doing, Matt. We are funding the probation service with millions.
When will that happen?
So that's happening. We've committed to that funding, and we're working with their colleagues.
When will the money come online?
So it's online. We are investing in our probation service directly now on that new equipment, on that new resource, on new officers, on that training to ensure that they are trauma informed, that they are working with the victim liaison officers, they are listening to victims as well. That's why we're giving ourselves more time to allow that necessary work to happen, so that victims like Molly and sadly so many others are listened to and their concerns taken on board.
We did a special investigation last week about the electronic tags. I mean, thousands of them just don't work.
No, it's it's not been good enough. It's not been good enough.
Well,
Matt.
when will they work?
So this is what we're working on. We're investing in that better technology, ensuring that we have it, that active live GPS monitoring, working with probation staff, working with victims directly, working with the police, because they will also be central to this, to ensure that we are ready and we are keeping everyone safe.
Okay, one more on Molly Cousins. I mean, she's been through an emotional roller coaster. Would you like to apologise to her?
I will, of course I will. And I'll apologise to any victim who is watching this or listening to this, because they deserve better. And they deserve a criminal justice system that works for them. And that is what we are trying to rebuild slowly. It is going to take time. We had to review the scheme. The Prime Minister said he was committed to doing that when he came into office. We've done that quickly. And I recognise that that has raised expectations amongst victims regarding what we would do and what we could do. We have worked really hard. The Prime Minister has, and he has been clear that if he could have more exemptions from the scheme, he would. But we simply can't. If we're to have those prison places, if we're to have a functioning criminal justice system, this is sadly what we have to do.
Alex Davis-Jones, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, although some survivors... She was feared, and that's where all the nightmares, all the psychotic episodes, she was with.
Our top headline. More attacks in a warehouse in Kyiv as the war in Ukraine continues the conflict. Because after the footage of a man getting chased to his van in Ukraine. Still to come tonight. On the programme, still to come tonight. CCTV believe showing a man carrying a suitcase contains the Scottish woman's body. Also a race against the clock. As England drought races to escape canals closing as water levels run low. As Scottish pupils and students receive their A-level and GCSE results, and will be with Looking-Off and be with BBC London's Harvey. They will be with Looking-Off's Anna and BBC London presenter Isabel shortly. Next. Tonight, the race against the clock as drought issues continue to raise as canal closures as water levels run low. It comes after it was confirmed that July was the driest and hottest month on record, with 8 parts of England and the whole world putting under drought measures. It also comes after the office has issued more heat alert warnings for the week as we're under a 5th heat wave, but other parts of England will see thunderstorms are also forecast as floods as heat wave ends for parts of the UK.
What do you say, what do you say?
It was a slow but perfectly timed arrival. This boat is the last one to make it through the locks at Atherstone on the Coventry Canal, albeit by the narrowest of margins. How does it feel to be the last boat through for the foreseeable?
It feels great because I didn't think I was going to make it, and I just come around the corner and the 2 lockies were there, so...
It was touch and go?
Touch and go whether I made it, yeah.
The locks were closed indefinitely at midday today because of a lack of water.
We're locking up because there's not enough water in this pound to actually feed the locks and make them work properly.
There's no other option?
No other option. We don't get any rainfall to fill the reservoirs and fill the feeders, then this will not fill up so we can use the canal.
Rob, who repairs boats, has never known it to be like this.
Well, as you can see, I've been here like over 20 years. I've never ever not been able to get a boat in the dock. And you can see how low it is there. It's normally just up to that staging.
He's unexpectedly got the rest of the summer off and it's going to cost him.
Over a couple of months, you're probably looking at £10,000. You know, and you've still got rent to pay. It's just ridiculous.
Emma has already noticed sales of fuel are down because part of the route is cut off. The price of the diesel has actually gone up, so we're paying more to get it in, but then obviously people aren't buying it as much. So that is definitely one that's been affected. But those who choose the water as a way of life say this is how it's going to be now. George says the locks have had to close 3 of the last 5 summers.
Canals themselves are struggling. The locks, the infrastructure is starting to fall apart, and it's getting particularly expensive to repair. Something needs to be done. These national treasures will fall apart if they're not looked after. They're 250 years old in some cases. Otherwise, we will lose them, and they will become muddy ditches that they were in the 40s and 50s.
Some users of this stretch are safe for now, but only significant rainfall will allow the lock gates to be reopened. Stacey Foster, ITV News, Atherstone. It's the drought, isn't it? Well, let's have a look at the weather now with Becky, who joins us from a farm in Essex. Becky, it looks rather quiet there, but it is, or should it be, harvest time, surely?
Mary, you're absolutely right. Normally, this would be a hive of activity behind me, but Harvest 2026 is over, and it's over a month early. Here we are at Chew's Farm near Little Samford, which is not too far from Braintree in Essex. It's one of the hottest and driest parts of the country. And just have a look at this. You can see the impact of what weeks and weeks of no rain looks like. The ground is cracked and so dry that the dust is whipping across the fields. Many eastern areas have seen no measurable rain for over a month, meaning that farmers are preparing for a low crop yield for the 3rd consecutive year. And it doesn't just affect the local area here, of course. If you have a look at this map, you can see that sort of disproportionately we've got our arable farming of the UK, that's crops in the ground, across the eastern parts of the country. Further west, it's livestock, it's more in the way of the animals, but out where we need that rain most desperately for the fields, that is where it's been the driest. You can have a look from the yellows where we've got the arable fields, and then the brown where we're seeing it so incredibly dry. And the scary bit of this is the fact that it's not just about this year, it's affecting next year's harvest as well. Have a look.
I'm the 4th generation of farmers within our family, and we've never had this situation before where we're thinking about not cropping. We'll have another 3rd year on the trot of reduced yields, and there'll be plenty of people go out of business, unfortunately, maybe up to 50%. I know it sounds a strong figure, but there will be food shortages if we keep getting extremes like this. It's getting ridiculous.
So, some very sobering thoughts there. Rain is what we need. Will we get any? Here's the forecast.
It's been confirmed that CCTV police believe showing a man carrying a suitcase containing a dead Scottish woman's body. Right. New CCTV footage appears to show a man wheeling a suitcase down a street near where the body of a Scottish woman was later found. The footage released by Great Media and confirmed via TV News by police shows a man with a large suitcase and a backpack. It was taken near where the body of Elizabeth Jane Ross, 38, was discovered inside a suitcase on July the 18th. This report now from Abby Spencer has this 2-minute report.
In a quiet Athens... In a quiet Athens street, a man calmly wheels a suitcase away from apartments. Greek police say inside it was the body of Elizabeth Jane Ross. Sharif Ahmadzai, an Afghan refugee legally in Greece, is suspected of killing the Scottish aid worker. She was 38 and from Edinburgh and had arrived in Athens at the end of June. She travelled here regularly, volunteering with groups supporting abused women and refugees.
I use boxing in so many different ways to get connected with people.
Ahmadzai is a champion boxer. He settled in Greece in 2016, travelling as a teenage refugee after being orphaned at 15 in Taliban attacks.
I try to be a great example for these refugees.
Elizabeth's body was found in this disused building. Police identified her using fingerprints. Flowers were left today with a message: may your memory live on. This is the flat where Elizabeth Jane Ross was staying. It's also where Sharif Ahmadzai was allegedly caught on CCTV carrying a large suitcase which police believe contained her body. Officers say that he used her bank cards to withdraw money. She'd been working for a group set up by Ahmadzai and his American wife, Elena Hall. It's understood she contacted police when news emerged with concerns about her husband. Back in Edinburgh, Elizabeth's local church talked of her unstoppable passion, helping the poor.
So finally tonight, students and pupils across Scotland in secondary schools got their A-level and their GCSE results today. Qualification Scotland it was exam results GCSE day for pupils and students across Scotland who got their results.
It's just wonderful to be here at Broughton High School today with young people opening their award certificates, hearing about how pleased they are with their results and discussing their plans for the future. This is an incredibly proud day for Scotland's young people and for our education system as a whole. Coming after last year's results, which were a bit of a breakthrough in terms of academic attainment going up and a surge in vocational awards, well, this year our young people have gone one stage better, with academic attainment across National 5, Higher and Advanced Higher all having gone up again, and a further surge in our young people obtaining vocational qualifications.
Hang on. I said hang on.
Nissan Qashqai with new e-Power, now available with 0% APR.
Hello there, welcome to Look Around.
On the programme tonight, the wait is over. Scottish students receive their exam results in what is being described as a record year.
Also to come, a new chapter for Carlisle Library. We take a look at the transformed facility as it finally reopens.
Plus, rebuilding a piece of British history, we watch as the last remaining aircraft of its kind is carefully brought back to life.
And the Lakes are alive with the sound of music, with the musicians preparing to perform a week-long festival. We start tonight with the news that Scottish students have been waiting for all
summer.
Yes, today they found out if their hard work has paid off. After their exam results were revealed, there was plenty of celebration, but also some disappointment for those who didn't quite get the grades they wanted.
Our reporter Alice Neal was in Hoyk earlier with pupils who finally saw that moment of truth.
The moment many have waited months for, results day in Scotland, and the relief was clear to see.
I'm very, very relieved, I've been so anxious, so it's fun to get off my chest now.
I've done pretty well. I've got an A, a few Bs and a few Cs. A D, but then it's still outranked, so it's pretty good.
How did you do today?
Well, very well, I'd like to say.
And what did you get?
All A's.
Very happy, very stressed. I don't know if I was going to pass or if I was going to fail, so very excited about it.
How did you do today?
Really good. I'm really pleased with all the results I got. I got all A's basically. I got an A for Spanish, chemistry, biology, English, maths and history.
Nearly 150,000 students across Scotland today received their results, many in schools like this one here in Hoyk. And it was good news for students, with the pass rate rising across the board in Highers, Advanced Highers, as well as National 5s and other vocational courses.
All our schools today have done absolutely brilliant. It's a testament to our young people that we have in the borders. They've excelled themselves. They, across the board, whether it's academic qualifications or whether it's vocational qualifications, and I'm really proud of the positive destinations that over 97% of our children are going to.
And it was a proud moment for parents too. How proud do you feel of your daughter?
I'm so proud, yeah. Over the moon, yeah. I am so proud. She's worked so hard for it.
Yeah, really happy, so proud. And you must be incredibly proud of your daughter, all A's.
Yes, I am. I know how hard she worked, and I'm proud, and I'm glad that I could support her every time she needed me.
Very proud indeed, really, really proud. She put a lot of hard work into her studying, and it's clearly paid off, so very proud indeed.
Lisa is one of hundreds of head teachers across the country who will be breathing a sigh of relief. Lots of students delighted with their grades today, some possibly a little bit disappointed. What's your message to them?
For us, what's really important is to ensure that all of our learners achieve. There are young people that have done exceptionally well. However, there are also young people who have got a breadth of different qualifications, and the ethos of the school is really about inclusion. And today was a really special day because we have such a breadth of different learners with different results here. And the important bit for me is that every young person in the school goes into a positive destination.
And help is at hand for those who didn't quite get the results.
Coming. Should have said just doing that. I would have waited a minute. So, congratulations to students across Scotland who got their results today. We're going to join our reporter, our presenter, and what's in the programme. To come more, we're going to discuss whether e-bags and bags are illegal and payments across Lincolnshire. We'll have more on how families and loved ones across the UK can feel safe going for any help or advice needed across funeral homes. We'll join as well on the BBC London team was in the programme as well. We will talk more about drug issues across the UK and talk with the presenter Charlie Watson on the programme and much more with weather travel for you. Okay, well that's it for me and for the whole evening team. I'll be back with the BBC News at 6 at about 10 past or 6:15 tomorrow. Tomorrow's the holiday team. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye bye. I'll see you later. Take care. Bye bye. 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 Take care. Bye.